So, hello everyone. I hope everyone's having a good Sunday. There's something called Porch Fest going on in Tacoma. I don't know specifically where in Tacoma, where people are playing on front porches, but the band Girl Trouble is playing sometime this afternoon. So, if anybody who's in the area of Tacoma wants to check out this music, they should go look up the event online and find out where it's at and when it's at. So, I'm planning on doing some more editing on The King of Norway today, and I did edit the conscript, and I think this is a perfect time to put out this triple storybook, especially because of the conscript. If anyone remembers the character Mack from They Called Her Morlock, I actually struggled for a fair amount of time over that Mack and Serena scene where Serena's coming back from basically what was once called California, illegally smuggling herself on a trade boat to get back to the port of Tacoma, to go back to her family in Tacoma from what she had been force fled at some point in the past. And I might go back into that again at some point. Later, I want to boost They Called Her Morlock and get it back on the market. But anyway, the reason I struggled over this scene was that Serena ultimately is going to have sex with Matt. And being that Serena is zero bit of a seductress, she can do the seduction angle to try to bribe this soldier who's guarding the port to make sure nobody comes into it with her body, because she's just not like that. And then it finally occurred to me, make him a conscript. Don't make him a soldier that willingly joined this formerly known as Canadian Army. Make him forced into it. And so that's going to be Serena's first advantage, because she recognizes this guy didn't want to be in that position that he was in, and that not only that, Mack recognizes her from like these handbills that come from the autonomous territory, which is what they call California and a lot of states on the West Coast. And her Morlock, the scrapper position, recognizes her from handbills and actually is a big fan of hers just based on the handbills, and offers to take her and her little merry band of smugglers, for lack of a better word, to smuggle her back to their encampment, sneaking through the woods of McKinley Avenue. Takes them back to his house, which is way in the woods, and he's all isolated because he had behaved poorly as a Canadian soldier and had gotten punished severely. Isolation, physical flagellation, what do you call it? Being whipped. I don't know if I'm going to get flagged for that word. Being branded, and then being starved because he behaved so poorly as a Canadian soldier, being that he didn't want to be a Canadian soldier. But he knows when the shift change is going to happen, so he smuggles this little band back to his house until the shift change, so it'll be easier for them to slip away, because during the shift change there's this lag of people guarding this area. And then Serena just kind of starts talking to Mack, and they just end up mutually deciding to have sex together. So that's how I worked that out. But I thought that Mack really was showing his humanity, that he had been beaten and starved out of him by getting these people away illegally. And I thought, well, Matt just needs more page time. So the story, the conscript is going to talk about how he became forced into this military that he would not wanted any part of whatsoever, ever, never considered going in the military, and he winds up in the military and ripped away from Marilyn Swiftwater. I don't know what Marilyn ends up being Marilyn Swiftwater. His name's Mack Swiftwater. She's fierce. She's fierce. She's like a badass. She's kind of like Jim, a badass. Well, all my women characters are badasses in some way or another. They're badasses. So, kind of losing my train of thought a little bit. That's okay. Gonna write a little more, or edit a little more on the King of Norway, which largely addresses like homelessness here in Tacoma. And in fact, there's a spray painted tag on an interstate off ramp that I'm hoping that I can sit at a light long enough and I'm close enough to I can take a picture of it, and it says fuck TPD, Tacoma Police Department. Fuck Tacoma Police Department, which I think would be a perfect cover if I can get a picture of that, because the Tacoma police fuck with a lot of homeless people in the King of Norway. So I think that would be a perfect cover just for the whole book. Collateral damage. Because what are homeless people but collateral damage? What is this dystopian looking exit ramp off an interstate that's overcrowded? Anything but collateral damage. It's going to fit perfect with the theme of all three of these stories. In fact, in one of them, somebody specifically says the words collateral damage. He says people are collateral damage. That's just what happens when you start a revolution. That's not my personal belief. That's the belief of one of the characters in one of my stories. But if there is a revolution, there is going to be collateral damage. No matter how hard you try to not have it, it's going to happen. Anyway, I'm planning. Working on some Lego today. And I got back into that game. Remember Farmville? There was a Farmville 2. That at some point, apparently, I just abandoned playing it. And it's probably because tablet issues. Because I was playing on the Amazon Fire tablet. Which largely is a piece of crap. But they're only $100 a piece. So if you can get one to last a year, then that's, you're getting your money's worth out of it. Less than $10 a month. The problem is once they die and they're beyond repair, then there's nowhere to put them except in the trash. So after this last Amazon Fire tablet dies, I'm not getting another one because I can't stand to throw things away. The cost of repair is 5 times the amount to buy a new one, which is a waste of money. But unfortunately, we live in a planned obsolescence society where everything is meant to break and you're supposed to replace it. And that's another thing about They Called Her Morlock. When Serena goes to the 23rd century, it's a sustainable environment. People repurpose things, reuse water. They do all these things that are good for the environment, even though they don't have to because they haven't brought electricity or motor vehicles or planes or anything back up, but they're still taking care of the environment. So at least there's that in the 23rd century, even though they still can't quit going to war. I don't know if anybody is watching this or even knows who I am particularly or knows who anybody else in this area are, but I want to say a shout out to my friend Charlie, who I met in Fairfax, and I communicate a little bit with now, and couldn't have gotten through that whole rehab thing without him being there at least part of the time, because there's only certain people I want to talk to. I mean, not trying to be a snob or anything, but I don't like small talk, and I don't want to be anybody's therapist, unpaid. And it wasn't even anything like that. We just laughed about things and walked around a lot of walking because there was nothing else to do after your little classes other than to watch mindless television, which neither of us were interested in watching the equivalent to Ow My Balls. There literally was some television show on. This television producer gathers all these clips from YouTube featuring things like people falling asleep and falling down the escalator or falling out of a chair or falling off a motorbike. I don't want to watch that. And I don't want to watch Fast and Furious. So television at night was not a draw for me. I was literally going to bed at 8:30 every night reading because being awake was insufferable at some point. When at Fairfax and Monroe. It was the insufferable. If it hadn't been for Charlie, I don't know what I would have done. Probably checked out early. Anyone, everyone have a good day.